You are tuned into the Green Hornet Case Files, a beacon of truth in a world shrouded in mystery. Unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
Brand new open for season 2.
Brand new opening for... Yeah, is there an echo in the room? Hey, move into the microphone a little more there, Kory.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I want to make sure that you're on the show here. Season 2. I am so excited about this and looking forward to some fun things this year. We have already been in the process of connecting with some people, and I've been trying to get this guest on. We'll talk about her here in just a little bit for 6 months. I don't know. She keeps blowing me off. I don't know what the problem is. But I do want to say one thing, Kory. You and I have been talking back and forth about one of our next guests, and I want to tease who 2 or 3 shows down the road. Chung Liang Al Huang. And if you saw the episode of the Green Hornet, 1966 season Green Hornet, and what was it called? Praying Mantis?
Correct.
Where the character at the very beginning gets beat up and laying on the street, and that character is Chung Liang Huang. And I reached out to him. He lives in Oregon. He said, love to talk about the show, love to talk about Bruce Lee, love to talk about the fact that he was in Flower Drum Song, and he's going to be on the show in the next few weeks. Super
bonus. I'm so stoked.
I'm excited. I'm excited. And she's giggling in the background.
Already ready.
I just want to make sure he's not still beat up, you know.
Yeah. Well,
he may have healed in that time.
He might have healed in that amount of time, yeah. So joining us on the Green Hornet Case Files, again, somebody every time I think about this, I just got to laugh. The first note that I had from this inkling of who this woman was I received an email that's saying, "Hi, I'm the vice president of Green Hornet Incorporated. I'm interested in what you're doing."
And we were scared.
And I sent an email really quick to David Grace, the lawyer of Green Hornet Incorporated, and said, David, I've got this person that that sent me this email. I need to know if they are, and he sends a note back almost immediately. She is who she says she is. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to introduce the granddaughter of George W. Trendle, our godfather of the Green Hornet, the Lone Ranger, Nanook of the North. No, that's not the right one. She's going to give me the finger here in a minute.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Kay Johnston, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Great introduction there.
He's got a knack for it. It's almost like he does it professionally.
Hey, nowadays I sling popcorn professionally.
This is true.
This is true. So that was a really interesting email that you sent us, just to say that you were interested in what we were doing. I kept waiting for the cease and desist to come along with it.
Well, to me, this is a very important legacy. And a lot of people don't know who he was, the Green Hornet, you know. So when I wear my Green Hornet t-shirts out, I always have to explain it to most people. And I just want us to be able to show how important these characters are, because one person can make a difference if they do something. And I think that that's very important in today's world. It's always been important, but right now I think it's really important. A lot of people are feeling divided from each other. And consequently, I think that those of us that have a legacy to uphold of helping the world get better, that we do something and we let people know that that's who this is.
I think you're right.
You just come out of the gate swinging with this beautiful soliloquy about, thank you, Mary Kay. I appreciate that so much. That was so good.
Well, thank you.
She's had time to work on that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. I made some T-shirts to be my marketing campaign. And, the more that we talk about it, the more that people understand that we can be a force for good.
Oh, yeah. And again, publicly, thank you for the T-shirt. I appreciate that.
Same. Very much so.
Yeah. We're flying the flag. We've got the banner going here for this.
Well, I just got to hand out several more just the last 2 weeks. My daughter got married, and she has 2 stepchildren. So they and her new husband got T-shirts, and her daughter got married a couple weeks ago, and that gentleman has 3 children. So I'm spreading the legacy.
If it makes you feel any better, I constantly have to take my shirt back from my oldest son. He snags it and wears it to school all the time.
Well, that's good.
It is.
It is good. It is. Yeah.
There are people that remember the radio plays, that have seen the comic books. A few of us even remember the TV show that was only on for 1 season. And that's how the U.S. got to meet Bruce Lee. So that's pretty fun to know about too. But, there's so many more people that we can spread this word to. So thank you for doing your podcast.
We're really happy to do it. It's as you and I had the opportunity of having dinner together down in San Diego for Comic-Con this last year, which was a delight. My friend Randy, who had joined us, told me beforehand, he says, I just don't know what to expect tonight. I said, just sit and listen and learn. And afterwards, he says, that was the most enlightening thing. He just thought, learning about the Green Hornet, he didn't know an awful lot about it. So it was a lovely time. But you talked a little bit about Grandfather George when we were sitting having dinner that evening. And let's start with talking about some maybe memories of what you have about Grandpa.
Well, he was always a presence, He came out to meet with the people in Hollywood occasionally by the train. So, he didn't like to fly. But he lived in this wonderful big house with this curving staircase to the second floor and a beautiful, great big window overlooking this lawn that, and across the street was the river, the Detroit River.
Oh, nice.
So, meeting there was really fun. As children, though, we weren't really allowed in anywhere besides the sunroom, to be seen and not heard so much. But, I just admired the fact that he was so into business. And it's interesting that all the things from his office in Detroit are now in the library in Detroit. And so my son found that there were all these files, and we went looking for them, and I found all these letters that I had written to my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So the original letters, and then his response, his letters to me, which were always carbon copied, typed by his secretary. He had a very snarl dat is what the signature always looked like. But it was really fun to go back and look at some of those letters. One of them that was the funnest was from him that said, "Thank you for sending me that candy, but it was dust in the envelope when I got it." But so it was kind of a neat thing. He used to write to me. We used to write to each other a lot, and so that was kind of neat. When I was in high school, I even went to visit him alone. And, he took me out to dinner, and we chatted. So that was pretty fun too.
Wow. I'm just kind of sitting here thinking about my grandfather, and, he only ever told me how to cuss, and
my grandfather would never have done that. But anyway.
In Czech. He would have taught me how to cuss in Czech. So, and I can still do that today. I won't on the show because it's a family show.
Okay, well, that's good.
All right. So, Green Hornet, did you know at the time that Green Hornet was part of what Lone Ranger, and did you know that was part of what Grandpa was?
Well, the Ranger was really most in the public eye at that time, because of the TV show. So, the Hornet was kind of like a back burner to me at that point in time. And I didn't really understand it and know much about it until I was in high school when the show came out on the TV. So, but, the legacy of the Ranger there is very neat to me too. The fact that, the Ranger's brother had the silver mine and made his silver bullets, and the brother was married, and his grandson is the Hornet.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of a legacy thing that is there that someday I'd like to do a next generation idea of my own too.
Ooh. Can you expand on that at all?
I've been thinking about it, but I haven't done anything, So yet, but that's something that I really want to do in the next few years.
Well, Kory is a big Lone Ranger fan. I was a big fan of Lone Ranger growing up, but Kory probably, you go to bed with your spurs on, don't you?
I to this day.
Wow, cool.
To this day, it was such a massive part of my childhood. I was obsessed with the Lone Ranger, to the point that the very first record I ever bought was the Oak Ridge Boys with Elvira, because they said "Hi Ho Silver Away" in the song. Which now I have a lifelong obsession with Elvira. That's a whole different concept. But
well, exactly.
Different Elvira for a whole different, yeah.
But I was just the Lone Ranger was my favorite thing for years and years and years, and that led me to the Hornet. That's how I ended up discovering it. Was like, oh, this character is tangentially related, more than tangentially, but at the time I was like, oh my goodness. So it was a big deal. And then later I discovered the Matt Wagner comics of the Lone Ranger, and that brought me right back to it, which led me to the Kevin Smith Green Hornet comics and rekindled my love for the whole universe. So your grandfather's works played a pretty big part in my gestational nerdery.
Gestational nerdery.
Terrific.
Gonna have to write that one down.
You're welcome.
Well, and an interesting thing is the movie that we had a few years ago, if you noticed, there was a painting of the ranger on the wall.
I did. It's one of my favorite details in that movie.
And I didn't realize it the first time I saw it. My son pointed it out to me. So I went, oh, yeah, because, we got to go to the premiere and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's pretty fantastic. So I try to ask everyone, what is your opinion of that film?
The main character of the Hornet was not as smart as I believed he should be. However, Cameron Diaz played a very smart person, and I had never seen her be smart. So, there was give and take there,
Okay.
I liked the fact that there was a variety of cast members from around the world. I thought that was pretty exciting. And I got to meet them all. So that was pretty neat. And, I'm working. We're working on a new movie, and we're going to they promised me a very smart Hornet this time around.
Excellent.
And I said, I just want the family to be in the restaurant scene, so you can't cut us out this time.
I like it.
We did get to go and be actors, background people that in the movie. My brother Bill is Billy St. John is his stage name, is an actor. And he actually had a line in it, but they cut that out too. And so I thought that was really sad. But, I think he can still count it on his dossier. But, it was really interesting to see the filming and all of that taking place. So, that was pretty exciting to be able to spend the day as professional actors. I don't know, they paid us something, but,
dinner.
We got to go to the meals, and we got makeup done, we had our own clothes, but, it was pretty fun.
It's always an awful lot of fun. Before I forget, Kory, remind me to not forget that we need to figure out how to get our little 2047 Productions short Green Hornet film out to the masses here. I've been thinking about that, and just remind me that we need to figure that one out. Okay.
Absolutely. Can do.
Okay. It's kind of a silly.
I want to see it too.
I don't know about that, Mary Kay. I just don't know. Come on. What?
It's Uncle Green and Uncle Cato, it's part of my family.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So with that being familial, for being so connected to it, how do you feel if somebody approaches the idea with a spin on it? Like there was the Cato comic with the female Cato. And there was also the sci-fi futuristic one, which I happen to be a big fan of. What is your opinion on people who take license with the characters?
Well, I think that the important piece is the character's presence and what they stand for. So, I don't have a real problem with them being female, people of color, whatever. I just think that, sci-fi piece of it needs to be relevant if that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think my grandfather would be into that, but you know, there's much more violence in the process now than when he created them too.
Yeah.
You know, the ranger never used his gun on anyone. It was, you know, and the Hornet originally was kind of a good guy that, you know, worked behind the scenes. He didn't, you know, beat people up. But, you know, society changes, and I have had it pointed out to me that we need to be relevant to the current scene. So, you know, I know that they've had scripts over time that they have said, no, we're not going to do that because they have peculiar twists to them.
Mm-hmm.
And but I've never seen any of those scripts, so I don't know specifically why they were rejected.
But you feel like as long as the characters, the integrity of the characters is maintained, it really doesn't matter what kind of setting it happens to be?
Exactly.
Okay. The latest film is, and we've talked about this a number of times on the Case Files program. Director Lee Whannell is attached to it, as well as writer David Koepp. And David has an incredibly long resume here of things from Jurassic Park to the original Mission Impossible. And, you know, you just kind of go through his resume here, and it's like I don't think the Hornet could be in better hands as far as the writer goes.
I think so too. You know, the people that are putting together this movie are staying true to things, you know, and we don't have, as a Hornet board, we don't have a whole lot of say in everything. But, you know, we do have a presence in the process, and, you know, watching out for what should be going on and, you know, what should be happening with the characters, to stay true to them.
Since you brought it up, the board, one of the questions that I wanted to follow up with you was at what point in time did you kind of become a part of the family business that way? And what are you guys doing to keep it alive?
Well, my mom and my uncle, those were George Trendle's children, were part of the board originally. And, you know, I talked to my mom and my uncle a lot during that time. So, you know, I knew what was going on. However, as they all passed away, my uncle's wife became part of the board and then got her daughter to be on. So at that point, I also became part of the board. So probably 2008 or 9, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And now my sister is also on the board as the secretary, and our nephew has joined the board now because we know that we need to get that younger generation involved before we pass instead of after.
Yes.
So, you know, looking for some intelligence and working through that process as board members at a 35, 40 age group is going to be an important thing too, because Evan grew up with all of this, you know, but having him as part of the board and putting in his ideas about reaching that clientele is going to be very important. We've got licensees that use the name for things. You can find them on the greenhornet.com website. There's various things like cars and
a lot of comic books,
the radio shows. So, and, a lot of different kinds of things are there. And of course, T-shirts that I have.
We're going to work with you on the marketing of those T-shirts, and we'll figure out a way to get those out to the masses.
Exactly. I was thinking about that earlier today too. So,
I'll call you.
Probably better than doing it here.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't do it right here, right now. So,
well, and during COVID, we made some masks. And we
cool.
And I had some baby bibs made as I was getting great grandchildren. So we could do some of that too.
All right.
So, Mary Kay, going back to the new movie, and this is just off the top of your head, do you see anybody that you think, oh man, that guy could be the Hornet? Like anybody out there that you'd be like, dream cast, that's the guy?
At one point, years ago, I was thinking of that. They were going to have some people that were prominent actors at that time, and since it didn't happen then, they
got old,
aged out.
Well, no, the people changed at the studios, and people changed in the whole process. And so, they came into that other kind of process, and Seth Rogen was hired to write the script and wanted to be in it. So that's how that came about, I think.
Somebody should have stopped him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just say what's on my mind. I'm just one of those kind of guys,
Well, and because of his characterization, the Hornet was different than I would have wanted him to be. But that's, there are people that liked it because it was sort of funny, and there are people that didn't like it because it was. So,
Well, and interesting, Kory and I have talked about this. My grandson, who's, what is he these days? 17,
17?
17, going to be 18, I think, coming up. Loved the film. I mean, he just thought it was really good because he's into that kind of comedy and the Seth Rogen mindset. And I don't have a problem with that. Again, we've talked about this kind of ad nauseum on the show that, it's just, as you said, the portrayal it just didn't ring true, to me. So that's kind of, where I jump off the bus. So you sent me some pictures here a while back. You had the opportunity with your son to go visit the WXYZ studios in Detroit at one point in time. Wonderful pictures of the old studio that they don't use anymore. It's just it's an empty floor, isn't it?
It's on the top floor of the building, and the maintenance people have an office there, but the rest of it is still looking like the original usage. So it's interesting to be able to see that and imagine what they were doing. So it's kind of neat to take the family up there to see it too.
That's one of those dream type things for Greg and I, both being old radio dudes.
Yeah, to hear the echoes in the hall of the radio shows that were done. Mary Kay and I were talking the other day about other shows that George put together, or Ned. I just went blank.
Yeah, Ned was the CIA guy,
the secret agent.
Europe, right?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, he was his cover was a newspaper person, and so he was there, supposedly getting newspaper articles, but doing his CIA stuff behind the scenes. But because it was on during the 40s on the radio, there were newspaper people in Europe that were getting arrested because the powers that be believed that the newspaper people were really CIA. So, the government the government told my grandfather to take it off the air. And he said, no, that's not a real thing. And they said, yes, you will take it off the air.
Oh my goodness.
So that's sitting by the wayside someplace. And there was an FBI guy that I don't know the name of it because I don't know really.
One of the other shows was Dr. Fang, and I don't know the pretense on Dr. Fang. Ned Jordan, secret agent, was the like a railroad guy that was also the secret agent. It was kind of a convoluted sort of thing, but we're playing with some things. We're playing with some things at this point. I've been doing a little research in the background, and I'll call you. I'll call you.
Okay, good.
I'll call you. Do you happen to have...
all the radio plays are in the Library of Congress, so those are probably there too. Sure.
So, do you have any keepsakes, any mementos, any memorabilia kind of things from those days?
I have a blanket that I had as a child that has the Ranger and Tonto woven into it.
Oh,
cool.
Nice. You got Kory's attention.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I had a metal toy chest that had pictures of the Ranger on it, and I had a 3-foot tall stuffed Tonto doll. I don't know where those are anymore. I do have some of the books that were printed with Hornet and Ranger stories in them. But most of the stuff is newer.
Right. Yeah, we were having the conversation with John Negron from New York, the collector, and John was informing us that something I didn't realize is that at the time, especially the 66 show, that most of the memorabilia was sold on the East Coast as opposed to West Coast, and so a lot of it was
that's true.
Not available. That's true. Yeah.
One of the really cool things about looking at the items from his office, Granddad's office, was he had printed out things like ratings against other things. There was also a packet of information that he used to sell the Hornet to other stations. And it was so interesting to me that when the car was created, the back end had a drone in it.
Right.
And,
the scanner.
I mean, at that point in history, there weren't any real drones. So, that's kind of the creating of some of that stuff is really pretty neat to think about. And the car, you can see the little aerial thing in the back seat, watching where the drone was going, know. So that's pretty fun to see. The original car that was in the series is in the Peterson Museum in LA. The last time I was there, it was in the basement. You had to pay the extra tour guides to go down there. And, I said, okay, I'm just going to go look at it really close. You know who I am, so I'm just going to go look at it. But the other one that he made is owned by a private person, and I got to have a ride in that one.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was pretty fun.
And a little side on that is that car, the number 2 car, has a cameo in our short film.
Very cool.
We got a hold of the gentleman that owns the car in South Carolina. We had a nice conversation with him and asked, and he said, I'm happy to do it. So there's a little bit. And there's a voice in our little short film of your son.
Yeah, that's right.
Is in the film too. A little side piece there for you. Little.
I don't think I knew that part.
You didn't know that?
I don't think so.
Well,
we've talked a lot about it. I don't think I knew that one.
Yes, if you listen to
one of those secrets.
Yeah, the little the radio announcer, or the announcer on the iPad, or when the newscaster is actually grandson of George Trendle. So
that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
very cool.
I just wanted to kind of keep it all in the family as much as possible. Well, listen, we're getting ready to bump up against our time here in just a little bit. Is there anything about George, Grandpa? I know there have been a lot of stories over the years. He was a very hard businessman, and I can appreciate being a really tight-fisted businessman. Are there any of those kind of stories out there that you maybe want to fix from what the history books are saying? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I know that he kept close reins on everything. He approved all the scripts, even though Fran Stryker wrote them. Granddad approved them all before they went on air. I think he just wanted to make sure that things didn't run away from him. And, I've heard the stories too, and I've seen some of his correspondence that he's written to different people, that, he was laying down the law, I guess, this is the way it's going to be. And that was probably part of his generation as well. He started out, he was an attorney, and he worked for a guy who owned several theaters. So he and my step grandmother did a lot of entertaining of vaudeville people.
Oh, yeah.
So I have some of those signed pictures in some of the stuff I have from him. But I think that he knew what he wanted and decided to make sure it happened.
I don't have a problem with that. As a creator or writer myself, I know Kory has done some of the same things. I mean, we create things and we don't want people to run away with them and to ruin what we think the characters are.
Exactly.
I don't have an issue with that. So, Kory, you got anything else at this point? I keep asking all these questions.
Well, you eloquently put it at the very beginning about the need for a unifying force. How do you see the Hornet or even the Lone Ranger reestablishing that in this day and age?
Well, Clayton Moore really exemplified the Ranger. And even when they told him he couldn't wear the mask anymore and he wore those sunglasses.
Sunglasses, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I recently sent you the Lone Ranger Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he exemplified that. It was important to him. We don't own the Ranger anymore, even though I'd like to do that, but, it's probably horrendously expensive. But I think that the more we can show the world, the good guys, the people that decide to take a stand against the bad things that are going on, the crime, the not treating people correctly, those kinds of things, the more the world will be better, I think, because we'll be thinking of each other instead of saying it's us and them. So, we have some control over the Hornets' legacy. Getting the word out and spreading the positives is not cheap. And the shareholders of the Hornet are the original owners of WXYZ. And so, we're into second and third generations on some of them, even though my siblings and my cousin own the majority of things. There's still a few other people out there. And they're not tooting the horn. So it's up to the rest of us that care to do that.
I think, Kory, we need a Save the Hornet campaign.
Save the Hornet campaign.
Let's do this. Let's start this. That's the mission statement of season 2.
That's right. Save the Hornet campaign. I like it.
Boom.
Well, and I think that the concept of a sting came from the Hornet. I think that concept came from there. And, Granddad used music for his things that were in the public domain, so he didn't have to pay for them. So, associating the music with him is probably a good thing too.
That's why we try and keep as much of that going with the show as we possibly can. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Kory?
Sir?
You have any parting thoughts, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us, my friend?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I just, again, really, really want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's a big deal, and we really, really appreciate it. And we hope that we are doing your family proud by trying to carry the torch a little bit.
Well, thank you very much for helping us.
We're all about saving that Hornet, and Mary Kay, I can't thank you for jumping in and joining us, for your friendship, for your tolerance of putting up with my constant texts and emails and everything else. But we're working hard to try and figure this thing out, and we'll do what we can.
Okay, thank you very much for your help.
All right. Mary Kay, thank you so much for joining us. And we always wrap up the show here. You can help us with this. We always say those 3 words that you hear the Hornet say to his driver. Do you know what those words are?
Let's roll Cato.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure, where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.